Does booking clients feel slow for you right now? Are you getting ghosted by potential clients, maybe even ones that you thought like, man, they seem so interested, but then you never hear back from them? Then this episode is for you. I'm teaching you a simple but powerful way that most business owners just completely skip over that's going to help you stay top of mind to a potential client and ultimately book more clients in your service business. And it's simple but strategic and honestly pretty easy to set up. I'm going to give you an exact template to use and all the things. So if you're a service business provider, or if you do something like online courses even, but you feel like the ball is getting dropped between an inquiry and actually booking or buying from you, then this is the episode for you. Let's get to it. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, an online educator for entrepreneurs, website designer, wife, boy mom, and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want to dive deep into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a sustainable business that fits your unique lifestyle while standing out in a crowd, then you are in the right place. I created a multiple six-figure-a-year business in my early 20s, and now in my 30s, I'm still running that successful multiple six-figure-a-year business on just part-time hours now as a working mom. I'm here to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe that the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, website design, personal branding, mindset, time management as a busy parent, scalable and passive income, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Okay, so let me tell you a little story to set this up. So I still remember from many summers ago, back before I had kids, when I was earlier in my business, and my husband and I were going on a beach trip with friends. And I decided prior to that trip that I want to do a branding photo shoot for my business because that'd be a fun place to get some photos done, right? And I was very unfamiliar with the area. I had not had a photographer there before. So I was hunting for a photographer on a mix of looking at Instagram, on Pinterest, on Google, trying to find someone with a style I liked and a price that made sense for me. And so in my hunting for a photographer, I emailed or filled out the contact form of around 5 different photographers in this area. And they all started to really blend together after looking over so many websites, more than 5 websites, or I contacted about 5 people, even more websites than that, for over 30 minutes, right, of research done on my part. And they all just start to blend together. So I finished my reaching out to people in a mix of contact forms and emailing them directly, knowing that hopefully one of them will be available for my dates and at the right price point. And then I go and look in my inbox after I finish those 30 minutes, and one of the photographers had already emailed me. And it was an automated email, which is what we're talking about today, but confirming that she got my message that had some more info in it that we're going to get to as we keep talking in this episode. But each one of those photographers, each one of those 5 photographers replied to me at various times over the next week. But you know who I got to know in the meantime and who I felt the most interested in was that person who had the automated email. And that was actually who I ultimately ended up booking and have actually booked again since then and recommended to other people since then as well. So we have all been there, right? When we're booking something, and I've been there in other times in bookings too, right? That was a story from a few years ago, but from things like finding a birth doula to bookkeepers, videographers, graphic designers, hairstylists, nannies, even event planners, you often end up contacting a lot of people at once for a project. And whatever it is you're searching for, you're reaching out to all these people often at the same time, and they can start blending together. And that's not a problem with anyone's business, right? It's just that they are all doing similar services, the service that you are looking for. And it can be hard to distinguish and remember who you preferred, or, oh yeah, that was the person who said this on their about page. Or that was the person that had this Instagram post I like. It just all starts to blend together. And you can actually forget who you even contacted when you are filling out a contact form, and you don't hear anything from them again until they email you directly. But the person that's going to get remembered between that contact form fill out and then hearing back from the person personally is the one who replies first. Okay. And yes, even when we know it's an automated response that just is triggered by filling out that contact form. So that person gets remembered and has a leg up on everyone else. And I want to add with this too, that story was from a few years ago. And I feel like back, 5-6 years ago, even, automated messages had a bit more of a stigma to them in the service industry of like, oh, but people know it's automated and I don't like that. I want people to have that personalized touch. I feel like that sentiment has completely gone away. Maybe you guys can let me know if you disagree, but I feel like that sentiment's generally gone away. And so instead, what it's replaced with is that we actually like that. It helps us know that the message was received. It helps us know a bit more information about that person and when to expect to hear back and all of these kinds of things. So anyway, in this episode, I'm going to tell you, first of all, just briefly why you need this automated touch point after an initial inquiry. And then we're going to spend most of our time on some ideas for what to include in the email that comes after your contact form. I call this the fast follow-up email. And I actually have a completely free guide for you with canned responses and templates that you can put straight into your CRM and start using today. And this 17-page guide, it's a really awesome guide. It's full of so many strategies to help you smooth out your inquiry process and book more clients in your service business. And we're just covering really a piece of what's in that today. So anyway, let's get into it. So I call this email the fast follow-up, like I just said, and you can get a template for the fast follow-up email that you can literally just copy and paste and customize yourself in that whole guide. The link's in the show notes, but you can also go to elizabethmccravey.com/canned, short for canned emails. I was trying to think of what short link to do, and I was like, that one makes the most sense to me. So elizabethmccravey.com/canned, CANNED will get you that. And this, the template is legit as well. The one that's for that fast follow-up email, you can literally just copy and paste as a starting point, but it's also not so specific that you should be worried about sounding like everyone else, because it's for more like Mad Libs vibe, to help you make it customized for your unique business. So let's talk though about why you need this automated reply after your contact form. Again, I'm calling it the fast follow-up email. I've called it that for years now, and I teach inside Book.Designer, but why do you need this? So first of all, it keeps you top of mind and sets you apart from all the other people this person, this potential client of yours just contacted. And it's every business owner's dream, right? To make that buying decision quicker, to move the inquiry process faster so that you're not emailing back and forth and doing a bunch of discovery calls and sending this and sending that and changing the quote. You want it to go faster. And you also don't want it to be weeks between when they fill out your contact form and they book you for a discovery call or ultimately book your service. So this starts that process immediately. And by immediately, I mean without you even lifting a finger. It's as soon as they've opened up the conversation about working with you, boom, the process starts, all while you are doing something else. Maybe you're playing with your kids. Maybe it's actually 10 at night when they contacted you and you are asleep. Whatever it is, you're doing your thing and your contact form, your CRM is taking care of the rest. Number 2 reason you need this, it helps the potential client start to fall in love with you now before you even get to your computer and reply. So again, just speeding up that process. And then 3, it helps set expectations and professionalism around your brand. So you can kind of get a leg up from others they've reached out to as the more professional one, the more memorable one, the one they start connecting with sooner, and so many other things. And people want a good client experience, right? From their service provider. And this first initial fast response can really just show from the get-go that you are going to give them a positive, memorable, great client experience. So I've done this automated email thing practically the whole time I've had my business, back to when I was only doing branding and website design, and I still do it today. And I'm for my courses and all the other things, I'm telling you, it really does increase bookings. It does move the process along. And I've also seen this be super effective for my Book.Designer students, as it's something I teach in that course. So yeah, it is just absolutely worth doing and won't take you long to set up. So let's get into the specifics of it now. So how to do it. So first of all, I recommend using a tool like Dubsado, which is a CRM, in order to do this. And you actually can't do this sort of thing easily with a standard contact form in Showit or Squarespace or somewhere like that, at least not currently. You can have a contact form there, but you're not going to be able to make that send a specific email based on what the person said they were interested in back to their inbox, right? Which is just super cool that we can do that in Dubsado. And if you're not familiar with Dubsado, it is a CRM, a client relation management system. The name, if this term you have never heard before, you might be like, wait, how do I even spell that? It's Dubsado. And I've used Dubsado since I was early in my business. I still use it today. Actually just signed with a new podcast sponsor, and I use the contract and invoicing system in Dubsado for that. You can do so many things in it, from sending proposals to questionnaires, collecting payment from clients, and things like what I'm talking about today of a contact form with all sorts of really cool automations happening in the back end. If you would like to try Dubsado, you can get a free trial and then 30% off your first month or year with the code Elizabeth30. You just put that in when you go to checkout and sign up. And I'll put a link as well in the show notes, but cannot recommend Dubsado enough. So what you'll do for this step though, is you make a lead capture form in Dubsado. That's what it's called. And again, if you go to elizabethmccravy.com/canned, you can get the freebie, and I actually walk you a bit more through in that freebie of like, what questions should I ask on a contact form? Like how much is too much? Some good, just like thoughts about how to do a contact form well. Because as simple as that sounds, you'd be shocked by how many businesses have way too many questions on it, or they don't have an email address on their contact page and they only have the contact form. They're treating their contact form more like an inquiry to work with you, like application type form. So there's so much stuff in the guide I cover about that. Again, elizabethmccravy.com/canned. And that freebie is made primarily with web designers in mind. However, I will say, as you're listening to this, you probably, maybe you're a website designer, maybe you're a brand designer, maybe do some completely other type of service. That guide is still going to help you, and the canned responses will apply as well. So you want to set up that lead capture form, right? And then you'll do a drop down with options about like, why are they reaching out? So you can ask like, what service are you interested in? What product are you interested in? However you want to phrase that. And I also recommend having a generalized option in addition to the services and products that could fit if someone was wanting to interview you on a podcast or invite you to an event, or maybe they just have a like random question for you. Maybe they're trying to like connect you to someone else. Like there's so many different things. So here's an example though of what the drop-down options could be for maybe a course creator. So it might be, I'm reaching out about, option 1 is like the name of your first course. Option 2 is the name of your second course. Option 3 is a media inquiry. Maybe you do lots of public speaking, events, and podcast guesting. And then option 4 is a general question. Okay, now another example that would be for a designer. Maybe the first option is they're reaching out about brand design. Second option is web design. Third option is collateral design like social media. And then fourth option is something else. It could be the way you phrase it, or you can phrase it as a general question. So by getting specific though on what they're wanting with this drop-down option, the reason we really do this is because then you can tailor that follow-up email to exactly what they reached out about, because you might want to say something different to the person reaching out about a media inquiry versus a person reaching out about interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. You know, for me, my book.designer course or podcast success blueprint, or Maybe it's like for brand design, you say something to someone specifically, but then for like social media collateral design, you have something else you'd want to say to them in the follow-up. So you get specific and you're going to tailor that follow-up email to what they reached out about. So then you do a trigger in Dubsado for what email is being sent based on this response. So literally their response options is connected to the email. And this is done through what's called workflows in Dubsado. So like the workflow kicks off from that email being sent. And again, my guide, elizabethcraven.com/canned, has screenshots that like shows you exactly how to do this. And just a quick tip here, just from an organization perspective, I would recommend naming the workflow based on what the drop-down options were. So if the workflow is for someone reaching out about branding, call it branding inquiry so that you can easily just like match them all together really well. Okay, now let's talk about what to include in that follow-up email, right? So again, it's going to be specific to the service they reached out about, not generic to all things, although you might have a generic one, right? If you have that option of like reaching out with a general question, then it'd be a more generic one. But if you have multiple ways to work with you, this is where it becomes really important to have a bit of like distinction and specifics to it. So in that template I have for you, elizabethcraven.com/canned, you're going to get that exact like copy and pasteable template that you can use and customize for yourself. But like just to talk through what is included if you want to just write it from scratch, or even as you think about like, okay, what do I want to say in this? So here are some must-haves, and let me see how many. I have 4 must-haves for this email. So first thing, show your personality a little, okay? Be friendly. Thank them for reaching out to you. I know for me, like every potential customer is a gift and something to be grateful for and a connection I want to make strong and start off on the right foot with. And so say you're excited to work with them or excited for the potential to work with them, excited they want to work with you. It's a really great way to start off this message. And I know at least for me, like I'm someone with a more enthusiastic brand as the brand personality. So we use exclamation points, we use smiley faces and things like that. So mine would be trying to show some of that personality, but your brand personality might be different. But regardless, this is an opportunity to show your brand's personality to this person reaching out by the way you're communicating in this automated email. Okay. So like share your personality a little, be friendly. But the biggest thing is just thank them for reaching out. Second thing, set expectations around when you will reply. So you could say something like, you can expect a personalized reply from me within this timing, within 24 business hours, or you could get more specific of like between Monday and Thursday from 8 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Whatever your hours are, however you want to communicate that, but like putting that in there just as like a quick line can be helpful to give people the perspective of like they're receiving this automated email, but like they're going to be taken care of with a personalized response that's probably answering their specific question they send in your contact form within this time frame. Okay, third thing, this is something I really love that I think is a big key to this being successful. Point them to resources to interact with in the meantime. So this is where that falling in love with your brand and staying top of mind happens. So like, do you have resources related to that offer they just reached out about? Link to it and tell them why they should click it. Get them to hang out on your website longer or go into other places, which we'll talk about in a moment. But ideally in this case, like get them on your website, get them to hang out, get them reading your blog, get them listening to your podcast, whatever it is. So for example, in my business, if someone reaches out about website templates, the automated email mentions a page on my site that's called All Things Show It, which plays like a similar role to an FAQ page about my templates. And so I tell people like, hey, if you're wondering more like what Show It is, which is the platform my templates work with, go to this page. I also link again to the shop page, which is probably where they came from before contacting me. So that can encourage them to go back to my website, keep shopping the templates, keep figuring out which one is right for them. For you, it might be that you link to a blog post that would help them make a decision about picking a brand designer. Like maybe you're a brand designer and you have a literal blog post that's like how to choose a brand designer. Maybe you have a page that is all your portfolio work. That'd be great to link to. Maybe you're a bookkeeper and you have a blog post that's like a behind the scenes look at like the first steps when you onboard a new bookkeeping client. Process blog posts can be great for this. So I would just like right now think about like, okay, what would be something helpful for this person to make a buying decision within your business? And if you don't have that resource already in existence, create it. And if you do, this would be a great opportunity to link to it. But I found particularly for services, like I just said with that bookkeeping example and the branding one as well, but information that like is something they're questioning as they are trying to decide about even hiring for this, or even more specifically, like hiring, like who to hire. Those can be helpful to link to, and anything that shows like the process. So like, yeah, if you have maybe a behind the scenes look at what it's like to work with you as a copywriter, as a blog post, yes, like, this person who's interested in you, they probably didn't find that on your blog, especially if it's not a super new blog post. So linking to it right now might get them, reading up on that. And then they already have all this information about working with you before you guys even hop on a call. So anyway, I would recommend doing that. Just a few different links that relate to that specific service or product that they have reached out about. Okay. And then fourth thing you want to include is getting them to follow you on social media or somewhere else, ideally not more than 2 places. So when someone has just decided to interact with you through emailing you, through a form of your website, or any other way in your business, they are at their prime for wanting to get to know your brand more. So this is an excellent time to get them to interact with you in other places. I call this audience distribution, and actually teach this inside Podcast Success Blueprint as a way to apply this to your podcast, like taking people who listen to your podcast and moving them other places, right? Like they listen to your show. Let's get them to engage with you on Instagram. Let's get them on your email list. Vice versa, they're on your email list. Let's get them to listen to your podcast. Ironically, as I say that, that's literally what I'm doing on this episode to some extent, right? Like, you are listening to this podcast episode, and I'm telling you about a free guide at elizabethmccravy.com/canned that's taking you from a podcast listener to an email subscriber, right? And you as a listener are at a prime point to be able to make that decision, right? So same thing applies here, that this person who just filled out your contact form is at a prime point to go follow you on Instagram, to go subscribe on YouTube, to go look at your TikTok. Like, they are primed for that. So I would recommend picking 1 to 2 platforms. More than that just becomes overwhelming. So I'd pick your top 2. They definitely need to be places that you are creating content. So don't send them to your Threads account that you haven't posted on in 1,000 years. But if you do use Threads actively, then that would be a great place to point to, right? So tell them to go interact with you there and link to it. I would say, like, if you are a podcaster, that's a great place. But then again, a social media platform like Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, wherever could be good, but basically somewhere else that is not your website. So that's it. So let me walk through what those must-have elements are again, right? You want to show your personality, be friendly. 2, set expectations about when you'll reply. 3, point them to resources to interact with while they wait on your response that are going to help them further that buying decision, right? And then number 4, get them to go somewhere else like social media or your podcast or something like that. So that guide I told you guys about has so much more to it than this. I teach on ways to get a potential client on a call, on a discovery call with you faster by skipping a step in the typical inquiry process. There's also another hack I love where you send more than just a proposal when someone reaches out, like after you've done the contact form and then you've done the discovery call, sending more than just a proposal to move along bookings. There's just all kinds of good hacks for that. It's all about booking more clients using Dubsado as your CRM. And what I covered in this episode is just a small snippet of what is in that 17-page guide. So anyway, you can get that, like I already said, at elizabethmccravy.com/canned. And I hope you will try this. I hope you'll go copy and paste that canned template in there. Check out the guide. Even if you don't use my guide, just like try this, guys. Again, if you are feeling like you're getting ghosted by clients, like someone fills out your contact form and then you're taking a while to write back to them and then they don't book with you, this could be a missing piece in helping that booking go better. And maybe you already have something like this already set up and you've listened to this episode and you're like, yeah, I have an automated response, but you haven't looked at it in a while, right? Because this is the kind of thing that's so easy to set up and then literally never look at again. So if that's you, go look at yours and make sure it looks good. Do any edits to it that need to be. Maybe you have more relevant blog posts to link to. Maybe you link to a social media you don't use as frequently, like whatever it is, go do some updates on it. And again, if you are considering Dubsado or are new to Dubsado, maybe you're on a trial account still, you can use my affiliate code Elizabeth30 to get 30% off your subscription. And again, I've been using Dubsado now probably like 6 or 7 years. It might even be more than that. I've been using it almost the whole time I've had my business. I'm closing on 9 years in business. So anyway, I've been using it a really long time and just can't recommend enough. They're an awesome company with awesome resources and they're constantly improving the software and it's just a super awesome thing that can totally grow with your business. So again, that's 30% off with the code Elizabeth30. And I hope this quick episode was fun for you and helpful. And I'll be back next week with another one. Thanks so much, guys. Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast today. That just flew by, didn't it? If you enjoyed the episode, then I want to invite you to check out my online course and coaching program for designers, Booked Out Designer. In this program, I teach you how to build a successful, in-demand, booked out business as a designer. You'll learn everything from the exact experience I take clients through to things like figuring out your niche, mastering discovery calls, pricing your services for profit, attorney-drafted contract templates, my exact social media strategies to book clients, and so much more. You even get to watch recordings of me in meetings with actual clients. We take things you're learning on this podcast and so many things I've actually never even covered on the show and dive way deep into them. In addition to the amazing course with 9 modules of teaching and over 90 lessons, you also get group coaching calls with me and access to an exclusive Facebook community of designers just like you. To get info and join the course, head to elizabethmccravy.com/BOD, short for Booked Out Designer. That's elizabethmccravy.com/BOD. Designers all over the world and in all different niches are having insane wins from this program, and I would love to help you do the same. That's Booked Out Designer, found at elizabethmccravy.com/BOD. Okay, that's it. Can't wait to connect with you again next week. Bye, friend.